Hello and welcome to episode 4, the final episode in the Tribal Customer Experience series. Welcome back. For those of you tuning in from episode 3 or any other, welcome back to Yasmin. For those just tuning in, welcome. Joined with Yasmin Borain, our Chief Experience Officer, and today we're going to be talking about the art of emotion in tomorrow's world and rethinking emotional design. So Yasmin, tell us a bit more about this.
Great. So this is a topic that I'm quite passionate about, and in our world that is rapidly changing in front of our eyes, people are expecting a lot more. And as people and communities and society adapt every day, we need to look beyond just understanding customer needs and behaviors, but also to their emotions. And it's a really important design dimension that often is forgotten. And it's really a shame that it's forgotten, because we as designers and agencies and everything, we're ultimately responsible for connecting people and connecting with people and making them feel something. And so we need to use emotional design to not only create products that people love, but instead create experiences that are as layered as we are as humans, and also ones that respond to us at any given moment. And so what we're moving away from are experiences that are passive and sameness to ones that recognize us and respond. We're moving away from those purely transactional and functional interactions to ones that are empathetic, not just in that moment, but over time. We're also moving away from loyalty by just marketing to kind of rethinking how a brand behaves and really interacts with customers, which then lends to a new relationship. So it's just bringing more meaning and humanity, or not more, but just bringing meaning and humanity back to our interactions. And one example that I really like in this space is nurse robots. So I'm not sure, Jamie, if you've heard of these before, but there are these nurse robots that not only go around the floors to give older patients medicines that they need to take and know exactly the time that they need to take them. So again, very functional need, but they also talk to the patients. So when they're giving the patients the medication, they're monitoring them and tracking kind of their well-being. So when they go in, they might actually start to respond to them differently depending on how they're doing that day or how they're doing that week. So it's just a really good example of how we can just, really consider that we're multiple layers and we're just not there meant to design just for joy.
Fascinating. I mean, you talked about sort of obviously a use case there, but how can sort of more everyday organisations, I suppose, use emotions to design better products and services to benefit people, do you think?
Yeah, so it's about understanding how people feel and why. The mistake that a lot of brands and organizations make is that they're always looking to design for that one emotion, joy, that I had just mentioned. But we're made up of so many emotions, and we need to make sure to start to kind of navigate and consider how to design for those. So I'll use an example of Google Maps. So Google Maps realized, especially in big cities like London, where we live, that people are getting really stressed on their commutes. And the reason why they're getting stressed is because of crowds. So they created a feature to relieve stress in those commute moments. So the feature's called crowdedness predictions. And before you start your journey, you can now predict how crowded your bus or train or tube will be based on previous journeys. Now, what's really nice about this is, yes, there's this existing functional experience that they didn't change. They didn't, interrupt or disrupt, but they took that emotional need that people needed, and they relieved pressure from them, which in the end helped everybody that was traveling.
A lot of people believe emotional design is a buzzword in the CX industry, one that I think has been around for some time. But what would you say to those who believe that, and how does one go about sort of really introducing such a cerebral concept into a business that may have never really considered this before?
Yeah, so I would first give examples of brands who create a really clear value by not only meeting those functional needs, but also those emotional needs as well. And I would give them examples that they could relate to. So if you look at Slack, Spotify, Nike, all of these examples are products that offer some added value that compared to other similar products in their category. And the data also shows that time and time again, that when customers can't establish an emotional connection, they don't come back. So really the best way, I think, is to put products in front of your customers. When you put your products in front of your customers, you will be able to see, and they'll tell you the truth. They'll tell you the truth of whether, that product is really meeting those needs. And I think that the other thing is that instead of, when presenting to C-level or stakeholders, don't just put the quote of what the customer said on the document. Show them the video or bring them to the session. You'd be really surprised the impact that customers can have and really sell in the need to start to kind of look at not just, understand behaviors, but also understand customers as a whole.
Let's say that you've sold the idea and the concept into the business, and the business acknowledges this is something they need to be looking at. A lot of what we've been framing here sort of requires the technology to not just be implemented correctly, but architected properly as well. And in my experience, this is a legacy challenge for even big businesses. In your experience, what are the most kind of common mistakes you see businesses making in this regard, and perhaps how can you go about resolving them?
Yeah, and first, I think where I'd like to start with that is that first, companies need to recognize that emotion can make the difference between a good product or a bad product, and also a product that's shared. And also, emotional design in most cases doesn't necessarily take a lot of restructuring. So it can be simple things like adding personality to help build a relationship with customers. And this can be done through tone of voice, through illustrations, animations, or little surprises in an interface, or how a staff member interacts with a customer. So the problem a lot of times doesn't lie actually in legacy challenges. It lies in an organization focusing on or feeling pressured to kind of get out as many features as possible, and always pushing the delightful or emotional connections to last, which usually then means that it never happens. So as a result, that means unengaged customers who don't return or share your product.
Clearly there is a lot to be discussed here, and not a topic we can really dig into in enough detail to give it justice in this quick episode that we're doing today. So for anyone watching that has been inspired through the things that Yasmin has said, or you're keen to learn more about perhaps how Tribal can help you with this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can get a meeting in the diary. This is the end of our series here, our customer experience series, but we will be starting up another one very soon. So please keep an eye out for that. Yasmin, it's been great talking to you over the last 4 episodes, and I really hope that we get the opportunity to work with some of the people listening to these episodes, and have become inspired by some of the topics you've raised. So thanks very much, Yasmin.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's been great.